So these are the assembly instructions for my Violators Will Be Towed sign. I have two pieces that are basically a mirror image of one another. And I have a small acetate rectangle, and I'm just removing the liner on both sides. So I'm just putting some red line tape on the long edges of my acetate piece. I'm doing that for both the front and the back of my acetate piece. And then I'm taking the liner off the two strips on one side. And then I'm placing my acetate so that it's just in from the edge a little bit on my pole, and more or less vertically centered on my sign part. So just about there. Next, I'm removing the liner from the red line tape that's on the other side of my acetate, folding up on the score line that's at the bottom of my post. Then I'm covering the rest of my sign in glue, and I'm covering all the way down my pole piece right down to that score line. And then I'm layering my second side on top. I want the edges to be even. So my two pieces are layered on top of one another, and that piece of acetate keeps my sign together with my post. And then I'm going to fold up the tabs that are at the bottom, like so. So I've got my print and cut pieces that I'm going to glue down to my sign. So I'm putting glue on the underside of my sign pieces and just gluing them down, trying to center them as best I can. And for my broom image, I just printed it on white cardstock, and then I took a Sharpie and just ran it along the edges so that those white edges wouldn't show up once I glue this piece down. So I'm putting glue on the underside of it and then just gluing it to my sign. Just to bring my little image to life, what I've done here is there's a little purple band that's on my broom. I've used some adhesive foil and cut that little band out of adhesive foil and just layered that on top. So I'm going to flip my piece over, and I'm going to glue the exact same pieces down on the other side of my sign. So now that both sides are decorated, I have 4 strips of craft board that I'm going to glue to my post to make it sturdier. And I'm gluing both sets back to back. I want the edges to be even. So I'm going to sandwich my sign post between my craft board pieces. So I'm covering one side of those 2 pieces of craft board that I've glued together in glue, and then I'm gluing my craft board to my post. It's right above the score line and following the edges of my post piece. Then I'm going to flip my piece over, and I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So next I have the platform for my sign, and I have this little white frame piece. I'm putting glue on the underside of it, then I'm gluing it down to my platform. And then I'm going to assemble my box. So this is the little box that goes beneath my sign. I'm just folding down on all the score lines for it. So next I have these pieces that I've cut out of craft board. I have 2 long ones and 3 short ones. And I'm just threading the short ones through the long ones. So the first one goes in the first set of slots. The second one goes into the second. And then the third one. And that's just to give a little bit of structure to my box. I'm taking my box piece and putting glue all over that long side tab. And then I'm folding the other end over and just gluing it to the tab. So next I have an embellishing piece. Got the white layer and then my black layer, and then just layering up the cutouts exactly on top of one another. The edges are nice and even. So this is the seam of my box, and it goes towards the bottom and away from me. And I'm putting glue on my embellishing panel. I'm using my Cricut tool here and just making sure that the cutouts on the top of the box align perfectly. I'm just gluing that panel down. And then I'm going to take my sign piece. I'm threading those tabs at the bottom through the holes at the top and then through the bottom. Now I'm using my fingers inside my box to help guide those tabs. And I'm putting glue on the outer parts of those tabs and gluing them flat onto the bottom of my box. And then I have my little structural piece. I'm just going to insert that inside. And then I'm closing up the ends of my box, just putting glue on the tabs, and then bringing that bottom flap up so that it's even, so that it goes right along the score line, and then putting glue on the top flap and bringing it down. And I'm doing that on the other side as well, putting glue on those side tabs, bringing the bottom flap up, putting glue on the top flap, and then gluing it down. And then I have an extra piece of craft board in the file. I'm just putting glue on the underside of it, and I'm just gluing it down to the bottom of my box. And that's my Violators Will Be Towed Halloween themed sign.